Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources so you get the clear picture. Today we're looking at a novel that, well, let's just say it stirred things up intensely. Rebecca Yarros' The Last Letter. We've gone through reviews, analyses, tons of reader comments, and yeah, this military romance hit differently. Less gentle escape, more emotional boot camp.
So, our mission today, cut right to the chase. Why all the fuss? We're giving you the fast track to understanding the big controversies here, character choices, that central lie, and plot twists that really pushed genre boundaries.
And those boundaries get pushed almost immediately. I mean, sure, it's shelved as adult or new adult romance, but the themes, whoa, really heavy stuff. We're talking major loss, PTSD, the tough side of military life, and then childhood illness, even death. Yeah, the sources are clear. This is not your average light read. Readers needed to be ready for, well, a whole lot of devastation mixed in. Okay, let's unpack the core of it. The actual love story, the part built on letters between Ella and Beckett. She only knows him as Chaos, his military call sign. Nearly every source we saw called the letters the best part of the book.
Right, the letters are key. They build this really deep emotional connection before they even meet. And the way Yarros uses them, not always in order, it links that past pen-pal relationship to everything happening in the present. It's effective. You really feel their connection through the writing.
Which makes what happens next even tougher, right? So the setup. Ella's a single mom, twins Maisie and Colt, 6 years old. She runs this B&B in Telluride, Colorado. She started writing to Beckett because her brother, Ryan Beckett's best friend in the military, asked her to.
Yeah, and this brings in that heavy sense of obligation. Ryan does this thing called the last letter drill. He knows things are dangerous. His note basically tells Beckett, look, if something happens to me, get out of the Army, go to Telluride, help Ella. Because she's already lost her parents, her grandmother. Ryan knows she's struggling. He puts that responsibility on Beckett.
And then Ryan dies. So Beckett goes to Telluride, just like he promised. But here's the kicker, the thing that lasted nearly a year. He doesn't tell her who he is, so Ella's grieving her brother, and she thinks Chaos, her pen pal, has either ghosted her or maybe died too. Meanwhile, Beckett's right there, living in her town, helping out, pretending to be just some guy. So why did readers react so strongly, so differently to this lie?
Oh, the reader discussion showed a massive split. Just huge. On one side, you had people who totally got Beckett's angle, or thought they did. They saw it as driven by, crushing guilt over Ryan's death, trauma, feeling like he wasn't worthy of love. They felt he was just trying to protect Ella and the kids, like Ryan asked, but felt he couldn't do that as Chaos. He has to keep that distance, which meant lying.
Okay. But protecting them, did that have to mean deceiving her about his actual identity for almost a year? Was it really a trauma response or just, I don't know, flawed logic born out of his own pain?
That's exactly what the other group of readers zeroed in on. They felt, regardless of his trauma, lying by omission for that long, unforgivable. Worse than just being ghosted, they argued. Because Ella already had serious trust issues, right? The kid's dad walked out on her when she was pregnant. So this felt like, I don't know, betrayal squared. Losing her brother, then finding out the man she'd fallen for again was lying the whole time.
And when she does find it, because Beckett eventually shows her the letters, right? Her reaction is swift. She cuts him off completely. And, importantly, cuts him off from the kids too. Instantly.
Yes, and that immediate banishment. There was another big point of contention. A major critique of Ella's character, actually. Readers were frustrated. Because earlier, Ella seemed to accept that Beckett had, quote, shadows of his past. But when the biggest shadow of all comes out, she just reacts so harshly. And in doing that, a lot of readers felt she ignored how attached the kids were to Beckett, making them feel abandoned, prioritizing her own hurt over their stability.
Wow. Okay, but the emotional weight doesn't stop there, does it? It just keeps piling on. Beyond all the family deaths and the big lie, Ella's also facing this terrifying health crisis with her daughter, Maisie.
That's right. Maisie, one of the 6-year-old twins, gets diagnosed with really aggressive cancer. Initially, like a 10% chance of survival. So the financial pressure, the emotional strain, it's almost unbearable. And this layer is crucial. It kind of explains why Beckett becoming part of their lives is so vital, why his bond with the kids matters so much to the story.
And Beckett really steps up there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Becomes that father figure. He gets depthly involved with both Maisie and her brother, Colt. The sources generally describe the kids as, adorable, resilient, though some did mention they occasionally felt a bit, what was the term? Sickeningly sweet, or even plot moppets.
Yeah, plot moppets. It's a bit of literary jargon, basically meaning child characters, whose main role is to drive the plot for the adults or just pull heartstrings, rather than having their own fully developed arcs. But yeah, that was a minor point for most. Overall, readers loved Beckett's dedication to the kids. It was heartwarming. Really cemented him as the hero in that respect.
Okay, so his commitment is solid, which makes the next big controversy, what some called the too much tragedy issue, hit even harder. A lot of readers felt the story just went overboard, piled on too much devastation, crossed a line.
Well, yeah, because think about it. The emotional focus for most of the book was locked onto Maisie. Her cancer battle, that terrible prognosis, readers were completely invested in that outcome, waiting to see if she'd beat the odds. But then, bam, near the very end, people often pinpoint it around the 92% mark. The tragedy takes a sharp, unexpected turn.
Right, this is the twist that really angered people, made them feel almost betrayed by the author.
Absolutely. It gets compared a lot to some of Jodi Picoult's more shocking plot choices. Instead of Maisie's cancer story reaching its conclusion one way or another, her twin brother, Colt, dies. Suddenly. A freak accident while hiking. Dropped under a rock, bleeds out. The whiplash was intense. Readers felt, emotionally exhausted already. And then this. Anger, confusion. Why build up Maisie's story just to swap victims at the last second?
It sounds like maybe it was just for shock value, but did the analyses find any deeper narrative reason for that switch? Did it actually do anything besides devastate everyone?
Well, the sources floated a couple of ideas. One, maybe the author felt the Maisie storyline, having run its course, was heading towards a more predictable resolution and wanted to avoid that. Second, and maybe more significantly, Colt's sudden death sets up a very specific, powerful final moment between him and Beckett, a moment that really hinges on Beckett embracing his role as a father, not just a supportive figure during an illness.
Okay, I see. And that brings us right to the ending and why it was so tough for romance readers specifically. It messes with the core promise of the genre, doesn't it? The HEA, the happily ever after. Can you really feel the HEA when the climax involves the main characters burying their child just chapters from the end?
That's the absolute heart of the debate. In romance, that HEA isn't just hoped for, it's practically guaranteed. It's the contract with the reader. So losing Colt so close to the end, it made it really hard for a lot of readers to buy into Ella and Beckett's future happiness. Even though they do end up together, that raw, shared grief, it kind of cast a permanent shadow over the resolution for many. It felt tainted.
Let's go back to that final character moment you mentioned. Colt's death, while horrific, did allow for some powerful symbolism tying things together.
It did, yeah. That last scene between Beckett and Colt is just gut-wrenching. Right before Colt passes, Beckett tells him he loves him, tells him he's adopted him, that he's his son now. Now, some readers found the dialogue maybe a bit forced, given the dire situation, but many others found it incredibly moving. Profoundly beautiful, actually. It meant Colt died knowing he had a father, knowing he was loved like that. And then there's the red leaf. Ella had asked Colt to find a specific, rare red leaf during their hike. After he dies, they find it in his pocket. For Ella, that leaf becomes this incredibly powerful symbol. It connects back to her brother Ryan, like Ryan is now taking care of Colt wherever they are. It provides this devastating but potent sense of closure to the cycle of grief she's endured.
Wow. Okay, just quickly, a couple of other smaller things readers picked up on. First, the names Maisie and Margaret being used interchangeably caused a bit of confusion.
Oh, right. That's actually pretty straightforward. Maisie is just the very common nickname for Margaret. So the text switches between them. Easily explained, but yeah, it trips some people up.
And then there was that one line, really jarring, seemed to come out of nowhere. Beckett's describing his commanding officer, and he says something like, "I knew he liked his coffee like he liked his women, black and strong." Apparently that gave a lot of readers pause, like major side-eye. Why was that line necessary in this already overloaded story?
Yeah, it definitely felt like an unnecessary kind of dated comment that pulled people right out of the story's intense emotional core. And we should probably also mention the comparisons people drew. A lot of readers pointed out similarities between the basic plot points, military guy, connection via letter shows up later, and the Nicholas Sparks movie, The Lucky One.
Right. Interesting parallel. But look, here's the bottom line, really. Despite all the anger, the frustration, the sheer volume of tears this book apparently caused, the consensus from the sources is that the last letter is, well, substantial. It sticks with you long after you finish. It absolutely succeeded in creating characters in a situation that readers got deeply invested in, choosing to stack tragedy upon tragedy. Hugely polarizing, no doubt. But it definitely made for a memorable, almost visceral reading experience.
Which brings us to the final thought for you, the listener, grappling with all this. In romance, you expect that happy ending. It's the payoff. So when an author gives you the love story, the connection, everything, but then drops a catastrophe, like burying a child right near the finish line, what does that do? Does sharing that intense grief somehow make the eventual HEA feel, I don't know, deeper, more earned? Or does it just break the spell, permanently damaging the journey so you can't fully embrace the ending? That's something to chew on as you think about the kinds of emotional stories you choose to engage with. Until next time, stay curious.